It's another Manly Monday, and this Manly Monday, I have a new headset. Hey, hey. Um, this is the first video I'm recording with this headset, so we're going to see how it goes. I already noticed it's a bit louder than the other. I think it's a better quality microphone. So I'm watching I'm so bad with eyeline this way because I'm always make sure there's no I hate it when audio overmodulates. So like, make sure there's no overmodulation. But this video is actually going to be a response to a question asked on Feedback Friday. I love it when people ask questions because then it's like, hey, that's a decision made for me. I can answer this question. If you like my general content, there are ways to support this channel. If you want more gaming content, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. That's also the way that you get to have your say in how this channel goes. If you want to support the Leanna Cares program, the one-on-one stuff, an extension of It's Not Therapy, you can go to coffee.com/LeannaK and buy a one-time Leanna Care session for somebody who can't afford it, or you can go to GoFundMe and support our men's groups. We are in the process of starting the Discord that will announce when the groups are meeting. So it's going to be one step at a time because this fills me with dread. I like to go building block by building block, make sure one part of an initiative is stable, just because I spent too much time at startups and low budget things where it's like, let's just be way out all over our skis, way out all the time and wonder why we keep falling on our face. It's my show right now. I can do it the way I like. So the question from the commenter in response to Feedback Friday was, how does one build up enough defense that they can take a hit and stay in control enough to choose whether to hit back? Asking for a friend. Okay, friend. One of the things we have to keep in mind is that this is why I like using the RPG character metaphors or video game characters. There's your armor class, how much is deflected, how much you can block. And then there are your hit points, how much damage you can take. And they are not the same thing. You and I both know sometimes it is a valid strategy to take a smaller hit so you can do massive damage, right? And sometimes it's just Tears of the Kingdom and your Joy-Cons are acting up and the game is designed to really not be terribly difficult and you have so many freaking hearts, you don't have to worry about that. And the staying in control, even when something hurts, is less about the defense and more the amount of your hit points. Now, in psychological terminology, the defense is called distress tolerance. The hit points are called emotional regulation. So, and some people say, no, it's the other way around. The distress tolerance is about how much you can handle. The emotional regulation is for when you're not handling something, what do you do? And that's why I say the emotional regulation is more about the hit points, because that's about when something gets past your defenses. And that's what I believe this commenter is asking about based on taking a hit, right? If you've taken a hit, it's got past your defenses. So it's a question of, oh, that hurt. All right. First thing you have to unlearn, especially if you were bullied as a kid or spent a lot of time in your early years being afraid. You don't have to respond to every hit. Trust me, I don't. I am strategic about the people I take a piece out of. Some people didn't agree with me, you know, kind of making fun of that guy on Feedback Friday. Some people I respect didn't agree with it. I stand by it because I think that we need to point out where people are going wrong, and keeping it light helps me handle it. I deal with things that sting by finding a way to make a joke out of it. That's my cope. I can't stay to only talking about things that don't bother me at all. That wouldn't be authentic, you know? And I recognize that I have a particular reaction to guys that talk the way that particular commenter talked, because they were people who used to talk to me that way and labeled me a whole bunch of things, and I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't stand up for myself. So standing up for myself is part of my journey. And that's one of those things that I understand some people don't like it. I understand that people think I'm talking about people like them when I do that. And the truth is, when I speak in a general statement, it's a general statement. When I speak on specifics, it's specifics. I don't do that passive aggressive shit. Somebody may make me think of something. And so I'll go, hey, I'm going to do a topic on that. It doesn't mean I'm talking about them. It doesn't mean I'm talking to something specifically referencing them. It means that jogged an idea, and I went, let's talk about the idea. The reason I don't name names in comments is precisely because I don't want to make it easy for people to attack someone, because people make mistakes, right? One of the things I find is that lacking self-awareness has a particular danger flare for me. And that's based on my own experiences dealing with people. When someone lacks self-awareness past a certain point, they're not trustworthy. They don't know themselves enough to be able to regulate themselves. And so the first step to building up those hit points is really knowing yourself. Now, the challenge here is knowing yourself is going to erode those defenses, right? You're tanking. You're building yourself up so you can take a lot of damage, because let's face it, things hurt when it's just words because they're hitting a weak point, right? They're hitting an insecurity. They're hitting something that you want to hide, that you're not comfortable with people knowing, that it's something people used in the past to emotionally brutalize you, sometimes as an excuse to physically brutalize you. Everybody has those things. And I remember when I originally started saying, everyone has sensitivities. Stop making your sensitive into an attack. Everybody has sensitivities. No one has perfect self-confidence. People argued with me, and science bears it out. And of course, the people that don't want to hear that because they want to continue being cruel ignore the science. That's a lack of self-awareness, right? Now, part of the way I consider this information to be like healing potions, things that increase your hit points, right? Something stings, I remind myself, right, psychologically, this is why people tend to do this. All right, it's not about me. Healing spell, right? And that moment of pause is really important. If you are just reacting because you think you have to, because it's fight or flight, you don't allow yourself that moment to go, all right, you know, that stung. I don't have to do anything about it. And I hear a lot of people thinking about, oh, that thing I should have said to that person. Not necessarily. As somebody who is very quippy, because holy shit, one, I've done improv comedy. Two, I'm a pretty hardcore gamer. Three, I've worked in male dominated industries, including gaming and comedy. Yeah, I got a mouth on me, and like I said, not everybody's going to like it. Sometimes I have to let that out to play because sometimes it just happens. Sometimes things slip out. Sometimes I'm on Twitch. And the thing about Twitch that people don't really understand until you've done it, when you are split concentration and like you've got adrenaline going because you're trying to beat a fucking boss and someone comes at you with bullshit, yeah, you're going to go rawr because you're in rawr mode. And part of the reason I allow myself to do that is so that when I talk to you guys about this stuff, you can see me unvarnished, right? Part of the reason I called, my program It's Not Therapy, and I do peer counseling, is it's peers, right? I'm not saying I'm better than everyone. I'm not saying I've got it all figured out. And because of that, when somebody comes at me and starts attacking my integrity the way that guy did in a comment, I didn't read that part because that's not worth addressing. That's just a cheap shot, I take it very seriously when people come after my integrity. I've learned that you do have to address that sometimes, that people aren't going to give you benefit of the doubt. And you do have to clean that up. But I know it's not true. And people have this stupid thing. It's not stupid. It's vicious. It's like I said, it's a cheap shot where anybody in the mental health space, they expect people to be saints. And that's, one, it's not true. Two, that's not what improving your mental health is about. Improving your mental health is all about you're not a saint. I'm a pretty good person. I ain't a saint. If you hear all the characters I say that are my inner voice, you know I ain't no saint. I never wanted to be. I never wanted to be a saint. Those characters aren't terribly interesting to me. They're not the people, alleged paragons I tend not to get along with. It's the regular people who are like, there's a difference between somebody being a flawed person, everyone, and a bad person. And a flawed person is comfortable enough with the fact that, like I said, I have a mouth on me. Sometimes it's not the best move. Sometimes it's the move I'm going to make. I can go, all right, ease up a little without saying that part of me is bad. That's how you increase your hit points, right? That's how you take a punch and still stay regulated enough to choose whether to hit back. One of the things that's really important, and I do regular radio pops on a radio station in Oshawa. I call it, the segment's called Getting Through the Night. They're mental health moments. And we talked about dealing with terrible people. people that are just on you. They're terrible people. And one of the things I said in the segment is, look, they are going to get to you. That's okay. It's part of it. Terrible people are terrible. They are going to get to you, and they are going to hold it against you. I'm sharing this I'm sharing this just to say I know what it's like. So I tweeted about some family members who are clearly hate watching my content. I don't know which source they're watching, but they repeated some of the false claims the stalker, affectionately known as Stalker Chan, has made. Family who, even if they don't like me, should know I'm not that. But they repeated it. That fucking stung. That made me really angry because I know they know better. I know they know better. I know they know it's not true. They want it to be true. So, family designation or not, this is beyond not liking me. Bad person points, right? But because I sit down and I talk myself through that and I work my way through the sting, I cast the healing spell, I can come and talk to you about something that was a pretty big gut punch because it's not true and because I'm not going to get into the details of when it wasn't even thrown in my face. It was thrown in the face of another family member. I think they forgot who those claims were made about, but it was a big mess and it hurt. And I have learned that carrying hurts around any more than is necessary drains the hit points. Because at some point, it's not the other person doing it to you. It's you doing it to yourself. You have to give yourself permission to not get 100% health at the end of the round. That's something great if you can do it, but it's not required to win the game. And you certainly can't do it all the time. And me being able to go, all right, that hurt. Why did it hurt? Well, because it's not true. Well, yeah, they're terrible people. It's like, yeah, they're terrible people. I didn't know they were quite that terrible. Even my low estimation of them, they didn't meet that mark. Okay, so I felt disappointment. Why am I doing this? Why am I investing my time, attitude, all that stuff in them? Well, because I'm going to have to see them again eventually, and I'm a little bit afraid of them because they do say hurtful things. All right. That's where you set your expectations, right? Yeah, they're going to say hurtful things. Yeah, I might react. Yeah, they might wear me down. The sun will rise the next day. And anybody who's going to hold that against me, anybody who is not interested in my side, they were looking for a reason. And that's where the stories you tell yourself are either going to cause more harm, they're going to be a poison that does damage over time, or they're going to be a healing spell that boosts that HP again. So people don't like you. People talk shit about you. People say things that aren't true. Is that going to hold you back? In some ways, it certainly held me back. I have lost opportunities due to lies. I can't do anything about that. I can only take the opportunities that are available to me, not the ones that were yanked away. And if I focus so much energy relitigating in my own head, feeling how unfair those missed opportunities are, well, I have less energy to apply to other things. So there's a point in time where I have to just go, yep, that door is closed. Why would I really want to work with those people anyway? Well, because they can get me where I need to go. Okay, what's another way to get me where I need to go or want to go? Let's pursue that path instead of just throwing good energy after bad. When you apply yourself to a new path, the memories of the old path become less relevant, and therefore they feel farther away. They hurt less. The thing is, the brain needs to be actively trained to do that at first, because that's not the way the human brain is designed to work. The human brain is designed to keep us safe, not help us thrive. And so when something really hurts, the brain says, stay in the cave where it's safe. Don't do that again. A person who has suffered enough hurts that stay in the cave, don't do that again, applies to so many things that it becomes difficult to function. And that's where we get the disorders, right? The so-called disorders. I hate that term. I hate that term because that is not, we call it disordered thinking, but it's really not. It makes sense. And we know that's true about trauma, but I'm starting to think that's true of other conditions as well. I don't think it's disordered, meaning out of order. It is too ordered. People who get stuck in these don't give themselves permission to go, fuck it. So it is. So it's a mess, So it's a mess. We so train people to be conscientious in all things and focus on weaknesses and get better and get better. Well, how the heck do you know what direction to go to in terms of improvement if you're only focusing on the stuff you're bad at? You have to use the things you're good at to plot a course where you can get some success. You're not going to get a ton of success only focusing on the things you suck at. My God, I have this teeny tiny pinky finger. I'm never going to be a fucking concert pianist. I can't do an octave stretch. Physically can't. Why would I spend so much time trying to play piano? My pinky's so tiny. It's now gaming injury from the stretch from WASD to the shift and control keys. It sticks out all the time now because of that. And as much as I try to do controller for shooters and RPGs, I just can't. I need a smaller keyboard. But that's just one example. That's a physical thing. But there are certain things in terms of that distress tolerance, emotional resilience balance that you have to play to your character class, right? If you're more of a rogue or you're more of a wizard, you have to evade, you have to stay back. You can't take that many hits. You don't have the armor. You don't have the HP. You've got magic points. You can do shit the tanks can't. They can do things that you can't. So find people that you disagree with on some things, but allow you to play to your strengths and they play to theirs. Mary just is an extrovert. I am not. So there's things he can do that I can't. He's a great artist. He's a great musician, even though he thinks he's not a great composer. I disagree. And he doesn't have to be great. He has to be good at game music. So he does that. If he feels strongly about something, I don't have to agree. I don't have to understand. I don't have to agree. It's his area of expertise. Go. I have my things I do. And the only way to be able to be good with those differences is to know what you're good at. So in those moments where, no, you do have to push back. You have to have the confidence that you know what you're doing in this way to do that. And that's how you know whether to hit back or not. You don't drain your HP, which sometimes means going no contact with some people. If you can't go no contact with some people, be gentle with yourself when they get the better of you. It is a feature, not a bug, of being around abusive people. Abuse hurts. Of course it's going to hurt. Of course we're going to say ow. Of course sometimes we're going to lash out. You will actually get more HP. It will drain slower if you're gentle with yourself about those times they pushed you too far. That's one of the things you have to learn about PTSD. You are going to get triggered. And you are going to do some things when you're triggered that aren't you normally. And that's why you're given that diagnosis. And so you do absolutely everything you possibly can to avoid them. Sometimes you're going to slip. And it's going to feel shitty. And you get the fuck back up when you're ready. And you get back out there. And if people mock you for that, if people hold that against you, they are not your people. And that is true of any of these conditions. You have to accept that you have the condition. You have to really understand what that means. And you have to be gentle with yourself that this is your reality. You're not somebody else, you're you. And that you has value, you know? And that self-awareness, that self-discovery allows you to go, is this an area I feel strong in? Those are the times you hit back. If you're not feeling like you're confident in something, not arrogant, but confident, if you don't feel like you know this stuff, you don't respond. Just walk away mentally, if not physically. One of the things I do with clients is every so often I do a session where we just talk about something they're good at or something they really enjoy. Because one of the things about mental health is you have to observe people in different environments. And obviously on Zoom, that's not always possible, but we can do it like playing a game, or we can do it talking about different things. I like to see a person in a place they are confident, to see the differences in their speech, in their demeanor, the pace of how quickly they talk, their body language, all that stuff. So I can start to learn them better, and I can start to read the cues of when they're feeling confident and when they're not. It also just allows me to see the things they really are good at. And when they're feeling down, I can point out, you have this strength, you have this strength, you have this strength, you have this strength. And they believe it because there's evidence. And that's something that often, I mean, shit, paying a therapist $200 for that's not useful. That's the whole purpose of peer counselors used in tandem with therapists, because it's way cheaper, $40 for that versus $200 for that, right? There's still method to the madness. There's still structure, but, actual therapy is to work on that tougher stuff. What I do, the joy of what I do, the reason I have zero interest in being a therapist is that I can do that. I can go, all right, you're feeling shitty now. You're feeling down. We're just going to talk about something fun this time. We're going to build the person up. And that's not something a therapist is necessarily in a position to do, because that's not, I mean, it's a variation on the mindfulness portion of DBT. But DBT is a very structured, like 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Whereas I go more of an intuitive, as needed. Okay, if somebody's having, you know, um, resurfaced trauma memories, they're having nightmares, they're having intrusive thoughts during the day, um, and it's because something came back. Their brain decided to heal at that moment. The shitty thing about trauma is just when your brain heals is when it decides to puke out something that sucks. So it doesn't feel like healing. It feels like getting beat up again. But that's heal potion, go back to the fight, right? And so having been through it, not just studying trauma, having been through that, holy shit, it's repressed memories are the weirdest thing. Dissociative states are the strangest thing because it's there, but you're not plugged into it. So it's like, yeah, that happened, but there's no emotion attached to it. There's no judgment. It's just sort of floating there. And then one day it goes back in and you're like, holy shit, that happened to me. And that happened. And that was fucked. And it takes a while to settle on that. And that's when, having been there, I know what helped me, what I needed, and I didn't get enough of, is somebody focusing on what was good about me, because you feel like shit. You feel like less than shit, because it's like, why is my brain doing this? And there are reasons, but I'll explain the reasons for people that helps. But some of it's just, let's talk about a game. Let's talk about a show. Let's talk about something you like. We can do deep dives in it. I find character examinations on shows and video games really, really helpful to kind of get in it at mental health sideways. I mean, mythology, religion is supposed to do that, but that backfires a lot. But that's a great way to get in a gentler way, like kind of slip in instead of but sometimes it's just funny shit, something that makes them laugh, something that makes them smile. Get the positive hormones out, the anti-stress hormones, right? Being good to yourself when life isn't is a learned skill. And that's another thing you can do to increase both your distress tolerance, your defenses, and your emotional regulation, your resilience, your hit points. Hopefully that helps. It was sort of an indirect thing, but these have always got to be indirect. That's why I do the one-on-one things too. So you know what's coming. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. New Zelda video coming on Wednesday, I hope. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for somebody who uses it but can't afford it. They are not $40. I only charge $25 for the subsidized ones. Coffee.com/Leanna K. Or help fund the men's group so we can talk about this stuff in a group setting. GoFundMe, link in the description box below. Thanks for watching Manly Mondays.